Hello everybody, vanburman here. Haven't seen that intro in ages, but yes, it's quite fitting. It's another video on Square... What the heck was that? Okay, it's another video on Square-Enix. There's been quite a lot that's happened recently. There's a couple of articles that I have read about which sort of aren't very good for the future of Square-Enix. Unfortunately, when we had the last video that I made on it regarding the fact that Square-Enix wanted to focus more on JRPGs, that they realised that they would sell quite well in places outside of Japan, and that it's a genre which might be a bit more niche nowadays, but it's something which a lot of people definitely are interested in, and will go out and buy and will play and will enjoy, and are therefore worth making. So I was originally going to make this video purely on the point, or purely on the news that Sony have sold all of their shares in Square-Enix. Now that in itself is a very big worry for Square-Enix. I will say a little bit for Sony as well, but not as much. But then another article that's come to my attention as well, as a bit of a, it was made sort of as a bit of a follow-up to the JRPG article that I mentioned before, and this one is even more worrying. Square-Enix they seem to be in really big trouble, I feel. The fact that they've lost Sony as a shareholder is a big blow, because Sony is such a big company. Obviously they make the PlayStation, which is quite important as a huge gaming platform, and I think their influence will be missed with Square-Enix, or it might be an improvement. But I think it's going to be a detrimental effect. The company that's bought Sony shares, I literally don't know anything about. I've read the name, and I haven't searched them or seen what they do. But from what I gather, it's nothing obvious to do with gaming, to do with technology or anything like that. I presume it obviously is, but it's bad that they've not got Sony on board. The other part of it as well is that I think it's probably got to do with a couple of things. Just probably the failure of Final Fantasy 13, I think, is a big drawback on that. The fact that Final Fantasy 13 was originally meant to only be released for the PlayStation 3. That was the initial idea, and then of course it got released on Xbox 360 as well. I don't know whether that was something Sony didn't like and this caused a bit of bad blood. We don't really know. We just know that there is quite a lot of problems at Square Enix at the minute. They do have a new president, which initial thoughts were from my last video that he was gonna change things for the better, and I was actually quite optimistic about the direction that Square Enix were going in. But the news of Sony pulling its shares out, while it is a big and important piece of information to do with Square Enix, the more worrying thing is this other article that I've read. And basically he's outlined 3 moves that he's going to do to help invigorate the gaming business. Now, I thought that the first suggestion that came out a couple of weeks ago was probably the best one. I mean, it doesn't have to just be Final Fantasy. Square Enix can make themselves a flagship for RPGs, quite frankly. But anyway, we'll go through the article anyway. They want to reconsider its long-term approach to large-scale development, since it requires so much time to get games out the door. So what does that mean? It means, basically, I think it means he wants a shorter development time span for games. So he wants to get games out sooner. Does that mean less quality, less money put in? Probably. Does that mean more mobile? Well, we'll go into that as the second point. They also want to talk more with the fans as well, which I think is only a good thing, as long as they realize they keep themselves grounded, so they're not just They're just going to talk to the fans and say, "Oh, what would you like to see? Final Fantasy VII remake?" No, no, it's not good to listen to them in that sort of idea. I mean, I think maybe if you wanted, I think maybe sort of like gameplay mechanics, and that sort of stuff. You know, what sort of combat system would you like to see, for example? That would be a good thing to come and talk to us about. And not about the story. I think if you can't write a good story, then you can't make a good RPG. I mean, if everything else is there but the story falls down flat on its face, then you've sort of missed out, unfortunately. So there is that to consider for them. But, you know, that's a good and a bad point, I guess. The other two points is they plan to increase focus on smart devices as gaming platforms. So, mobiles. Unfortunately, yes, I know. Not for PC and stuff like that. Luckily, you know, I guess if it's good enough and the technology's there, we'll be able to hopefully be able to emulate it. You know, be able to buy it on the Play Store and then emulate it on my computer with BlueStacks or whatever system I use. So that might not be too bad. It just depends how well it's done. You shouldn't just be rushing out RPGs for the sake of it. I mean, a good story does take quite a long time to develop, I feel. And I think there has to be he wants to cut down development time spans, but there's got to be long enough that you're making sure you're getting it right, rather than just, as I say, making it for the sake of making it. What's the last point? And yes, now this thing I really don't like, purely because it sort of goes against the comment from previously, and that they want to now try and do it. They've been doing it for ages anyway. Is they want to tailor each region's game portfolio to appeal specifically to that audience. So they think the UK is like the US, for example. Therefore, they're going to want Skyrim. Well, yes, we do like Skyrim, but we like Skyrim for Skyrim. You know, the Japanese. Well, it's a widely common held belief that the Japanese feel that Final Fantasy X was the best ever Final Fantasy. And it is definitely up there, and it's one of the ones that I enjoyed the most. So if I enjoy that the most, and I don't live in Japan, does that mean that the Japanese are going to get a game that I would love over there, and they're going to bring me out a game over here which I'm not going to love? Because it's going to be sort of a mix between Final Fantasy 13 and Call of Duty. No, I'm not going to want that. I'm going to want what the Japanese are playing, unfortunately. So I don't think that's quite right. I mean, I don't think it's... I think if they are going to do it that way, they need to make sure that they are also releasing the other games elsewhere. So yes, okay, you might want to tailor. You're going to say, well, we're going to make a game that's primarily focused to the Western market, and we're going to add these bits in that we think they like, and then obviously come over here and it might not be that well enjoyed. Well, by me, I'm not really bothered by everybody else, to be honest with you. And then, of course, they might release something in. Then, of course, I think they should release it in Japan as well. So, because, you know, there might be some elements in there that the Japanese audience likes. And I think it should work vice versa as well. If they make something for the Japanese market, then they should be willing to also release it over here as well. I mean, I understand if they're going to be... If they want to make sure that a game is focused on a specific market, that's fine. As long as it is released elsewhere. Because I won't really mind too much then. Because then I could just primarily go after the games that they've marketed at the Japanese, seeing as it seems to be the ones that they do better with, I feel, in that regard. But it is also a good point as well. They need to start making things other than Final Fantasy. Well, big games other than Final Fantasy. I mean, I know they're publishing for Tomb Raider and Deus Ex, which is obviously Eidos Montreal, I think, or one of them is. I don't know. You know, but you know, Square-Enix themselves need to branch out a bit more in terms of what they do. And you know, they can be the kings of RPGs, but at the minute they are well, I don't know, they're struggling to be a lord of RPGs, which is a few steps down from a king, I'll tell you that much. But hey ho, that's just how it is at the minute. I feel a bit deflated by them now, but we will just have to see what happens. I mean, words are only words. We'll wait and see what actions they do bring out. As long as they keep just talking with the fans, I think you know, we'll give them their honest opinion, and hopefully they'll listen to us a bit more. I'm not expecting them to watch my video or anything. It would be nice, but yeah, you know, I think a lot of people feel the same way that I do about all that, and it will get through to them eventually if they are willing to listen. So yeah, we will just have to see how things unfold. It'll obviously be the thing to remember is not to really jump on it from Final Fantasy 15. I think because 15's probably, you'll probably find that 15's pretty much already made now. There's obviously still a lot of work to do, I would presume, on it, but in terms of the core game mechanics and the story and the general outline of the game, I think that all of that is pretty much decided on. So, you know, this shake-up's happening now after that, basically. And if they do get the chance to release another one, you know, we can judge it on that rather than what's happening now. Anyway, guys, I am gonna, well, I'm actually leaving very, very soon, but I wanted to make this video because there's a couple of interesting articles that popped up which I thought I should share. And yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you when I get back, and well, I hope there's no more negative news, but that's what it's like when you follow Square-Enix. I'll see you very soon, guys. Goodbye.